Hello, buddy. Welcome back to the Tin Man Score channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and today I'll be reacting to three more scary storyteller channels for y'all. And the first one is Dark Reality, and the video that I picked out to watch is three horrifying real movie theater scary stories. So without further ado, I'm going to turn these lights off, move the camera up here for you guys, and let's get this reaction on the road and in the bag, shall we? Okie dokie, here we go.
It was a pretty average day. I met up with some friends, played a few games, and basically just screwed around. My girlfriend and I had made plans to go see a movie that night, which was the weekly norm for us. We are both avid moviegoers, so any chance to hang out and do what we loved was always fun.
Oh, absolutely. If you like watching movies, then whenever you get a chance, you gotta go see it in a cinema movie theater because it's on a big screen and it's like out of this world, basically. Well, you get some enjoyment from it.
This particular night was the release of John Wick 3, and both of us were Keanu superfans. Suffice to say, we were really excited. I purchased the tickets in advance, in case the theater was full. We showed up, my girlfriend bought the snacks as usual, and we went into the theater. It was decently crowded, as expected on an opening night. We went and found seats in the back in case things became a little dull and we decided to enjoy each other's company, per se, but we were surprised to find a thin, sickly-looking man sitting further down the row. We didn't take notice of him for a while as he just seemed normal and tried to enjoy the movie.
You may see somebody that might look sick and like either very thin, pale skin, but you try not to make notice of that because you don't know what the guy was going through. You just try to find a seat that's like furthest away from him and enjoy the picture.
About halfway through, I needed to use the restroom. I excused myself and told my girlfriend I'd be back in a few minutes. As I walked down the stairs, I noticed on the opposite side of the room that he was making his way down the stairs as well. Again, this didn't strike me as odd. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, and just assumed he needed to use the restroom too, or get popcorn or something.
That's true. He probably could be doing that, or I'm guaranteeing you, he's following you. Probably high on drugs, or he's mentally crazy one. But let's just see if I'm right or not.
I went into the bathroom and did my business, but as I walked out, I noticed him waiting at the exit. As I passed, I heard him say, "Your friend is pretty. Can I have her?" I did a double take and said, what? He made eye contact and replied, "She is beautiful. How much do you want for her?" I very forcefully told him that she was not for sale and not property you could just offer someone to buy.
Yeah, I mean, that's a weird response. He's dating her, so you need to back off. But I know he's not going to like that dude's response, so he's going to forcefully take her, which I hope he don't. I'll be going back into the movie theater to tell my girlfriend what he just said, try to finish up the movie and then get out and find somebody in theater management, tell him about this crazy dude and what he just said, see if they could kick him out.
I then told him to stay away from us, or I would call the police. He told me that he would wait near the exit in case I changed my mind. I returned back to my seat, but my girlfriend could immediately tell something was wrong based on the way I looked. I told her that the guy who sat near us earlier was just being creepy, but I didn't tell her what he said because I didn't want to upset her. The movie ended, and as we got up, I remembered what the creep had said about waiting near the exit. I asked one of the staff members if they had seen the guy wandering around based on my description, but they hadn't. My girlfriend then knew something was up, so I told her about what he had said. We both decided that it was best to just try and get to my car, so we made our way out of a side exit and made our way to the parking lot. About halfway to our car, I heard a voice yell, "Hey, wait up!" I glanced around and saw the same man running at us. He had something in his hand, but I couldn't make out what it was.
Oh, heck no, don't wave up for him. Run to your car, get in it, and drive away. I guarantee you he probably had some sort of bladed weapon in his hand because he won't go to take no for an answer, but he's just acting all innocent about it right now. But this dude is crazy.
I told my girlfriend to run, and we both sprinted for the car. I unlocked it, and we hopped in. The guy caught up and tried to force his way in, but by that time I had already locked the car. My girlfriend had already started dialing the police, and I started to back my way out of the parking lot. We drove for a minute before hearing police sirens. 2 squad cars pulled up. One went in the direction of the man as another officer stopped to talk with us more about the situation and what happened. The guy was eventually caught. He was holding a screwdriver and admitted to the officer that he planned on attacking me and my girlfriend. The night was a huge wake-up call to us both, and we saw that the world isn't all perfect.
Oh, it was a screwdriver, not a knife, but yet that could be used as a deadly weapon too. I mean, he could have stabbed you right into the veins in your neck or arms or chest with that thing. You see somebody that's either sickly or acting strange or staring at you, you always got to take that as a sign they might be up to no good. But I'm glad they got out of there and they called the cops quick enough for him to take it into custody. But I tell you, you can't even enjoy a decent movie night now without hearing anything on the news that a shooting, stabbing, robbery, kidnapping might happen over at a movie theater nowadays. But anyway, let's continue on to story number 2.
Back in high school, my friends and I would love to go to our local movie theater, situated inside our shopping mall. We usually traveled in big groups, but this time it was only my friend Alex and me. We picked a late night showing of some obscure movie. I can't recall the name because this happened years ago, and arrived on time to find our seats. Since the showing was late and the movie wasn't a box office hit, the theater was empty. We situated ourselves in the middle, where we could get a perfect view of the screen. Strangely enough, a couple arrived late and decided to sit on our row, with only 2 seats between us and them.
I remember we used to do that when we would go to the theaters. We would sit in the middle most of the time. But I remember on a few occasions that we sat near the bottom and that was way too loud down there. But then I remember I always thought the seats up above were better because you can exit the theater quicker if you have to use the bathroom or get some snacks. But that would be a pain in the butt that if you thought the whole row was for yourselves and then another couple just walks right on in and seats beside you. I mean, you shouldn't find anything wrong with that because sometimes people ask us if they can sit in our row even though they're further away from us. You just got to be careful and keep your eye on them. Make sure they ain't doing nothing crazy.
My friend and I exchanged confused looks and then shrugged it off, figuring it was solely because we had prime viewing seats. As the theater got dark, things got a little weird. The woman of the pair kept looking over at us every few minutes. The first few times, I figured she was just a nervous person and adjusting to her surroundings. Yet maybe an hour into the movie, she kept the pattern up. She wasn't even discreet with her staring because she'd turn her head completely towards us. I could see her entire face. I still see it in my head today. I nudged my friend and told him about the girl staring, and he whispered that he'd noticed too. At this point, I was feeling very anxious and almost wanted to leave the movie early. My friend didn't want to, though, so I decided staying with him was safer than leaving alone.
Just wait until the movie ends if you can. But that would be kind of creepy just having somebody staring at you. Especially if you're like a row above them and people were like not even watching the movie. They like turn your head and look at you that way. That's just creepy. But once the movie's over, try not to make it look like you're running, but get up quick and leave before these people follow you.
Throughout the movie, the girl continued to look over. Every now and then, she'd whisper something to her counterpart, but he himself never looked over. Once the movie ended, I grabbed my friend by the arm and told him that we should get going because it's late. He followed suit as I sprinted out of the theater. Once we were out, the halls were empty because barely any films play towards the end of the night. I was about to say something to my friend about how the couple next to us freaked me out, but they ran out of the door seconds after us. I was freaking out on the inside, but decided to try my best to keep my composure. My friend was definitely aware of them closely following us out of the theater, but he isn't the type to be confrontational, so we just speed walked to my car. Once we got in the car, my intuition told me to just get out of the parking garage as fast as I could. I saw the weird couple make it to their blue car, which was on the same parking garage level as us. That wasn't surprising because the entrance to the mall is on that level, so everyone parks there.
Yeah, that's kind of inconvenience, ain't it? Like you said, they probably arrived late and then spotted you and followed you to your vehicle in the parking lot. But now I know they want to follow you once you leave. Keep your eyes open on that vehicle because once they start following you, you better get your phone out and call police.
I sped out of the parking garage and drove towards the main street. I told him to keep a lookout and see if their blue car was following us. He looked back and said the coast was clear. I felt so relieved. Now we were the only ones on the main highway because it was late at night and we live in a quiet suburban area. Then a few minutes later, a car came speeding up from behind and flashed their high beams at me. My heart started to race. My head just told me it was them. I asked Alex if the car was blue, and he said he couldn't tell. The light to turn left onto the next main street was green, so I took the left turn necessary to get to my friend's neighborhood. The car backed off and turned on normal lights but still turned left too. I caught a glimpse of the car and started yelling once I realized that it was the weird couple's blue car. Alex told me to gun it, so I slammed on the gas and sped down the last main street before I had to turn into my friend's neighborhood. The blue car wasn't tailgating me, but was clearly following not too far behind. When the streets are empty, it's easy to follow someone since there aren't other cars to dodge. I turned into my friend's neighborhood but decided to drive past his street so that they wouldn't see where we were trying to go.
That's smart because you definitely don't want them to know where your friend lives at after they see you take off, because then they might try to kidnap him or rob him later. Because this is getting creepier by the minute.
The blue car followed us into the quiet neighborhood and was picking up speed to get closer to us. My friend Alex was panicking and asking what I was going to do. I just kept quiet as I sped down a random neighborhood street. I could see the car's lights behind me as I made a turn onto another street, but they were far enough so that they couldn't see me for about 30 seconds after I took the next turn. After I turned onto another unfamiliar street, I turned my car off and flipped it into neutral gear. My car is a manual, so I am very familiar with driving it, and knew I had enough momentum to roll into an empty parking spot, even though my car was off. I slipped into the spot on the curb and pushed the brakes to get to a stop before the blue car could clear the turn to get onto the street. I reclined my seat back completely and told Alex to lean all the way forward and not move. We sat there in the silence and dark car, my ears ringing from how quiet it was. My heartbeat was fluttering faster than it ever had before. I think it was a mix of fear and adrenaline. Within a few seconds, the blue car cleared the turn and started slowly driving down the street. It made its way past my car that was parked on the side of the street. Luckily for us, I drive a standard black Scion TC. There is nothing notable about the car. I haven't even changed the license plate frame, so they must have figured that the cars parked on the road belonged to the people that lived in the neighborhood. Alex and I literally stayed in our hiding positions for 10 minutes, just in case the weird couple decided to drive by again. Luckily, they never did. Once we got up, we just stared at each other and didn't know what to say. We were both freaked out and had no idea of what the couple had planned to do if they caught up to us. To this day, I still don't know what their intentions were. Maybe they're just a couple of deviants who enjoy freaking out young high school students? Or maybe they even had more sinister plans for us. All I know is that I don't go to the theater late at night anymore, unless I'm with a big group of friends.
That was quick maneuvering, pulling into a street and parking with a bunch of other cars and then hiding. And thank God you didn't have nothing noticeable in your car, because then they would have been like, that's the car. But I guarantee you, they're not just people messing with high schoolers. They were people probably looking for easy victims to rob, but they couldn't do it in the movie theater, so they had to chase you down. But thank God they just pretty much gave up and they were able to get back in their seats and drive back to get home safely. That is creepy.
Back when I was in high school, my friends and I loved exploring creepy places. A few of us had our driver's licenses, so on weekend nights we would gather a group of 6 to 10 people and go on an adventure. One summer, our favorite place to go was this abandoned movie theater on the west end of town. This place had closed down probably about 3 years before we started visiting it, and in that time, it had become a rundown building. There were no trespassing signs on the front entrance, and each of the fire exits around the building, coming from the theater rooms. The glass at the main entrance was all broken and had been boarded up. The front door was busted and didn't latch or lock, so people were able to get inside. We knew there had to be homeless people crashing in there, but we were young and dumb, and felt invincible in a group. It was part of what made it scary. We would always wait until between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. to go into places like this, because we didn't want anyone to see or hear us and report us to the police. We all explored it together the first 2 times we went in. The screens and seats were all torn up inside each of the maybe 8 rooms. The bathroom mirrors were broken, and there was graffiti everywhere.
You know, that would be kind of cool just to explore an abandoned movie theater because it'd be like you got the whole theater to yourself, basically. But I hate that every time people go in there to look around, they end up breaking or graffitiing certain areas of that building, a Pacific building. I mean, just go in and explore and don't damage the property because if a cop saw you entering the building and they walked in and saw you doing that, you'll be in a lot.
We were fairly sure there were people hiding in there while we were inside, even if we never saw anyone the first 2 times we went. There were a couple of shopping carts from a nearby Fred Meyer inside with cans and bottles in them, and a few dirty blankets scattered around in different rooms. It looked lived in. After getting to know the layout of the place the first couple of trips, we made a game of it for the third and final visit. This time, the 6 of us that went split into 3 groups of 2, and with our partner, the 2 of us would enter the front together and spend a full 5 minutes inside while the others waited outside at our chosen exit in the back of the building.
If you see a shopping cart that had like cans, blankets, and other stuff in there, that should have already gave you a sign that there might be some homeless squatters in there. And if you make a game out of this to where you enter 2 people at a time, I know a few of them was going to be spooked to death to where they want to leave quickly.
The first 2, Beck and Doug, both went in while we waited outside. About 7 minutes went by, and just as we were starting to worry that we should go in after them, they made it out the other side, through the fire exit. Doug told us that they went upstairs into the office, and there was a sleeping bag that hadn't been there on the last visit, and as soon as they went up and saw it, they tried to leave immediately, but they got turned around and tried to leave through the wrong exit, which was sealed shut. They were paranoid that they were being followed out, so they just stood there watching the way they entered the theater room for a minute, making sure that they didn't hear any noises, before they finally worked up the nerve to run out the correct exit in the room across the hallway. Doug and Beck both wanted us all to leave, but Jack and I weren't having any of that and insisted on going in. Brad and Drew, the other group of 2 that was going to go in last, wanted to come with us, so the 4 of us went inside while Beck and Doug both waited by the exit.
I mean, I would have took that as a sign, be like, okay, there's some dangerous folks probably in there. Homeless squatter found that office and wanted to sleep in there, but you discovered their campsite, basically, and you don't know if that person's in the building or not. But at least the rest of the group decided to go in together instead of just 2 by 2.
The first thing we all wanted to do when we got inside was to go check out the upstairs office. Just as we started to make our way up the stairs, we all heard a loud banging sound. It was coming from the back of the theater. We all agreed it had to be Beck and Doug trying to scare us so that we would come out and we could leave. We got upstairs and the pounding stopped. Doug was right. There was a sleeping bag rolled out on the ground with a few paper bags set up around it. Brad flashed a light in one of them and saw a syringe and something that looked like a vibrator. We were all pretty grossed out and had a little laugh about it. We looked around up there and didn't really notice anything else interesting, and we were starting back down the stairs when the pounding started again. We decided we should probably make our way to the exit. I hoped we hadn't been caught trespassing by the police. We came out through the exit, and immediately both Doug and Beck were talking over themselves to tell us that about a minute after we entered the theater, a really tall, creepy, homeless-looking man with greasy hair walked right past them, heading for the entrance. Beck said hello as he passed, and the guy stopped, turned, and kind of lunged a few inches toward him before stopping. One side of his face was really wrinkly. Beck thinks maybe he was a burn victim or something. The guy stared him down for a second, and then, without saying anything, turned and walked around the corner where we had gone inside. They started pounding on the door right after he was out of sight, to try and warn us there was a scary dude in there with us. We were in there for about 5 minutes with this guy, and we never saw him. He had to have heard us and hid somewhere. We started to walk back to our car in the Fred Meyer parking lot, about 100 yards away from the theater, and a car pulled into the parking lot and shined its headlights on us before flashing its red and blues. The police officer had us all sit down in front of the spotlight in front of his car, and asked us what we were doing. We told him we were going to head inside the movie theater, but a really scary tall guy walked in, and we chickened out. He told us that it was really dangerous to go into places like this, as there had been violence in the building before, and it'd be a shame if we got hurt doing something stupid. He let us go, and as we drove off, we saw him shining a light inside the front entrance. We took the nice police officer's advice and never went into places like this again. I never did find out what violence he was talking about. It could have just been a tactic to scare us out of coming back. We stuck to graveyards and cemeteries after this.
Well, I'm glad that cop did not bust you right there for even being at that place. But I guarantee you he went over there to shine a light into the building just to see if he could find that dude that you were talking about. Well, that would be creepy just to see a guy with wrinkly skin on one side of his face. He might have been a burn victim, but messed up on drugs really bad. But then they stopped doing abandoned buildings and other places and decided to go to graveyards and cemeteries. I wouldn't, because those places are way more spookier than abandoned buildings. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more dark reality content like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man's Court channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and that's a wrap. And have a nice day, y'all.